Canada scores another massive miss on their inflation targets. It is hitting us in every aspect of our life. And the most important one right now is real estate. Now, we got a lot to get into today. Let's get into it. I think it's super important that you're going to share this with me. If you go right away to the bankofcanada.ca, right away on their front page, I like how they announce it from the hills, 5.9% inflation. And at the same time, notice on the side, 4.5% is their policy rate. So they are guaranteeing you that you will not make up your money for inflation. They guarantee you a loss. This is a promise I think that the bank will actually stand by, to be honest with you. Now, we're going to be coming back to this in a little while. Today, if you go over to StatCan, which is the statistics page for Canada, for the Canadian government, it's going into the Consumer Price Index of 2023. Now, just as a sidebar, you guys, the interest rate that the government sets is going to dictate every aspect of your life, from your car payments to your credit card payments to whatever investments that you have in your bank. And the biggest thing is your home. Remember that your home is the largest amount of leverage you have in your life generally. And so it's going to affect you the most. That's where you're going to see it the most. All right, so let's take a look at this because I have a lot of things I want to tell you about it. The Consumer Price Index rose 5.9% year over year, following a 6.3% increase in December. So it has come down ever so slightly. So we got to give them points for that, right? It has come down, but listen, the mortgage rates have gone up through the roof, one of the fastest tightening cycles that the world has ever seen. So of course, we're going to see that lag effect as it's coming down. Prices for cellular service, I haven't seen that, and passenger vehicles contributed to the deceleration of the CPI. However, mortgage interest costs and prices for food continuing to rise. So let's just take those things into play because we have to talk about them. First of all, cellular services. The biggest thing that I'm seeing for cellular services is not the prices coming down. It's now the new minimum amount of gigs that you have available to you. So in the past, you could get a 5 gigabyte plan per month or a 10 gigabyte plan per month. Now what I'm seeing is, tell me if you're seeing this too. 20 gigs, 30, 50 gigs is the minimum that you can have for your plan. And so the way that they do it in CPI is they're dividing your cost by the amount of gigs and saying, well, it's going down. Listen, that's fun math because I know even people in my family are trying to get plans that are 5 gigs or 10 and they can't get it. You have to spend 50. So you're forced to buy your phone outright. But by the way they calculate, they're saying it's going down, even though the price of the plan has gone from $60 to $100. All of a sudden now they can make it look like it's cheaper. So I'm not seeing that. Also, the secondary vehicle market went absolutely bananas during the entire chip shortage. Every car was going for 50% more. We had friends that bought a car 2 years, 3 years earlier on a lease, and they were getting offered more than their purchase price. So I expected car prices to go down hugely, actually. But here are the things that hit you the most. However, mortgage interest costs is soaring and the price of food is continuing to rise. Let's continue on here. In January, prices rose 4.9% on a year, excluding food and energy and mortgage interest costs. I made several videos about this in the past because what kind of alien lives on earth here who does not have a mortgage, does not eat food, and does not use energy of any kind? Please show me this person, you guys, because I don't know anybody who doesn't poop. I always talk about that book that the kids read, right? So I don't want to know what it costs if we don't have food or energy or mortgage interest costs because that's not real people. Now, higher gasoline prices contributed the most to the month-over-month increase, followed by a rise in mortgage interest costs and meat prices. This is important for us. Let's go over to the last webpage. If you go here to the Bank of Canada and go down, there is this article right here called a summary of governing council deliberations. I did an entire YouTube video about it. I'll link it here if you want to take a look at it, because in that article, it's saying that though inflation is coming down, the largest portion of that was the fact that oil prices were coming down, which is bad. because the oil prices coming down is nothing to do with Canada. It has to do with the OPEC countries that are lowering the price of fuel. So they're saying it in there. The largest reason why inflation has come down is not of their own doing. So on this same vein, if we take a look at this article here where they're talking about in StatsCan that higher gasoline prices are the most month over month increase. So this is what makes me feel from a national security perspective that we have to rely so much on other countries. All right, some other things that I noticed here, they said cell services fell by 7.9% year over year. Though you may have more gigs in your plan, I think that you're probably paying more for your plans. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with that or not. Also, if we continue with this, shelter prices decelerate despite continued upward pressure from mortgages interest costs. On a year-to-year basis, shelter prices increased at a slower rate. Please notice that shelter prices went down, but they were rising 6.6 and 7% increase in December. But this is what the majority of people talk to me about. Well, home prices are down. So the first time buyers that are going out there are generally people under 45 that are buying their first home. When they're going out there, they're seeing the prices drop. So they're expecting a lower monthly price. But remember, if you're buying in cash, you're seeing this realized for yourself as home prices go down. But if you are buying on a monthly payment, you're buying a payment. The payments are much, much higher than they are now. Before, we had low interest and high housing costs. Today, we're seeing higher housing costs and much higher interest. So that's translating a lot into the market today. Let's go down a little bit more. Food prices rise at a fastest pace year over year. We're seeing them continuing. We're getting nailed left, right, and center. It has dairy products, bakery products, everything is up. This is going to continue affect the real estate market, you guys. So we want you to take a look at what the housing market is like. Let me show you what I've prepared right here. Now, this is the Toronto market where I am. But remember that the Toronto market is a very good market to look at from a bigger market, over 1 million people. So if we just look here, the average price in the last 12 months is down 23%. Now we're looking across millions and millions of homes here, right? So what I want to do to you is just show you by type, because this is very indicative and this is very telling how the markets will be for you. So did you notice that when I looked up type, by far the majority in the majority of cities is going to be detached properties. 45,000 have sold in the last 12 months. But if we look at the average, that's the biggest portion, it's down 27%. If we're going to look at the median price, it's even worse, 29%. 30% loss in median home prices in a year in the largest segment in Toronto, which is terrible. Also, if you want to look at the average sales to asking ratio, last year we were seeing people pay 120% of asking. So we're seeing people bid way, way over. Today, it's at 98%. So we're seeing even less than the listed price. Last, no surprise, is the days on market. We could see the days on market right now is at 31 days is the average. In some area codes, it's 40 or 50 days. And man, that was unheard of last year. So now let's take a look at a different aspect here. Take a look at condos. I want you to take a look at the condos as well, because this shows you what's happening in the condo market as opposed to 21,000 condos sold last year. Let's take a look at the last 12 months for prices. You can see right here are only down 18% for the year in the last 12 months. If we want to look at the average price, which is always a little bit different, 15%. So this is the main difference that you have to look at, is because the larger it is, the more they fall. But this has a lot to do with how you got to position yourself moving forward. Why is it that the average home price is down 30%, but the average condo is down 18? Why? Do you see that relationship? Now let's spread that out. $3 million homes are losing 50%. $1.5 million home is down 30%. But a $500,000 condo is not going down. And that's because everybody is rushing down. They're selling off the expensive stuff and moving into the base units. So base units are a lot safer for you as well. If you look at it from a area code and you're looking at that in different areas, the area codes where you are within 200 meters of a subway station or some kind of public transit, and you are in a good building, meaning 7-star, like 7 out of 10 or greater, then you're going to do very, very well. Now, this doesn't mean Toronto. Just Toronto. I mean, it could be Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. It doesn't matter if you're in the US and you're talking about Chicago, New York. It doesn't matter. Location, 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 right? Always. And so if we're going to pay attention to that stuff, we can use these general trends to make you do better. Now, As we look at interest rates moving forward, as we're seeing the job numbers go up, as we're seeing inflation go up, it keeps showing us that their job is not done. They will continue to raise rates in Canada, regardless if they're talking about a pause. I don't believe it. So if they even did want to pause it once or twice, fine. I still think there's more interest rates to come because their job is not done. So I don't believe that. And I think there's going to be another 2-3 quarter point jumps. And I think they keep talking about the job is not done until it gets down to 2% inflation. That is their goal. And I think that's going to be coming for us. But remember what we were saying in condos, the lower price condos not doing so bad. The higher the price, the bigger they fall. Who owes more money than anybody? The government. And we're watching in the United States and Canada going way over on their budgets, and they haven't even calculated this new 5% on trillions of dollars of debt. And so all of that extra inch is going to be added to it. We already got a glimpse in that third quarter last year. First time in Canada's history, they lost money. And this is going to continue and continue. So I see a lot of inflationary pressures in the future. All right, you guys, let me know what you think about this. I'm not really surprised by what they're saying. I'm expecting inflation to be very, very sticky. So there's a lot to go. But remember, next 2 years is going to dictate the next 2 decades of your life. There's going to be a lot of opportunities there. I wish you the very best. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.